Welcome back, folks. Well, drama at the Fed, record highs for the stock market, and regulation for crypto. Well, that means it's time to focus on the economy. Joining us are Republican strategist John Thomas and business and market analyst Seth Densen. And don't forget our special guest today, Doug Burns. Greetings.
Good morning.
So let's dive right in. President Trump still not happy with Fed Chair Jerome Powell over not cutting interest rates. Here's the president on Wednesday. Roll tape.
Do you have plans, or if you're back considering firing Jerome Powell, and what's your justification if you're thinking about this to do this?
Too late. He's always been too late, hence his nickname, Too Late. He should have cut interest rates a long time ago. He's a terrible Fed chair. And that goes for his board, too, because his board is not doing the job, because they should try and rein this guy in. So he's doing a lousy job, but no, I'm not talking about that. Fortunately, we get to make a change in the next, 8 months or so.
And now the Fed chair is coming under fire for cost overruns and renovations to the Fed headquarters. Seth, what's your take on this? Because, the way I grew up in financial services on Wall Street, being on time is what is expected, and being, late is unheard of. So what say you?
Yeah, to be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late. To be late is to be left out. That's what I was taught. So I'm with you, John. I think there's a couple things here. One is, as far as this Fed building goes, I mean, you could build 6,000 homes with what this Fed is spending on this building. So we have a housing shortage. Maybe we should have gone there. As far as the Fed chair, I mean, he is certainly part of the issue, in part to blame on the current economy. For months, he didn't raise rates. He should have, and kept saying things were transitory. They weren't, and led to partly the $10 trillion of cash influx that we saw over the last administration. So he's partly to blame for that. The third thing, though, this president does really well, and I'm a big fan, but he does really well if there's a boogeyman. And right now, Jerome Powell's his boogeyman. And I think as long as he's there, the president has a punching bag, and he punches well.
Punching indeed. John, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Powell's gotten it wrong time and time again. It was the money printer ran wild under Biden, largely responsible because of Jerome Powell. And what we know is home pricing affordability is driven in large part by whether or not families can afford to get a mortgage. And what are mortgages driven by? Interest rates. President Trump is a real estate developer at his core. If anybody understood the impact of interest rates and what it does for everyday Americans, for ability to buy homes, for the economy to expand, President Trump gets it. And that's why he's saying, too late, Powell. He needs to cut rates. Everybody said that Trump would come in, inflation would go even crazier. It's been the exact opposite. So Powell would be well to heal President Trump's advice, because right now, home pricing is largely unaffordable because interest rates are so high.
Yeah. Doug, I got to ask you this question.
Sure.
Because the American people need to know. The president should be able to remove the Fed chair. I know the Fed is independent.
Right.
But, last time I checked, the Fed is not a union. There's no collective bargaining agreement. So why can't the president remove Jerome Powell?
No, you're technically correct, but there's always been sort of an independence notion to the Fed, meaning more just custom and the way things are done, not legally. So technically and legally, you're right. Same thing with the FBI director. Remember, he fired James Comey. We talked about his daughter getting fired as an assistant U.S. attorney this morning. But the point is, no, you're correct technically, but at the same time, there is sort of an independence. But, it's interesting how he trots out yet another memorable nickname, Too Late.
I love it.
Yeah.
Too late, Powell. Well, we're going to move on to investments, gentlemen. We have stocks still near record highs, and the market continues to shake off concerns about President Trump's tariffs, the tariff threats, and all the major averages are double digits. They're up since April. So what's the old saying, sell in May and go away? Seth, does this still hold true?
Well, it might. That's why you need to be paying attention to your portfolio. I'm always concerned about where we see business valuations. And the reality is the U.S. economy oftentimes will operate on capital instead of cash. And valuations have driven people into the market, largely because we said in a minute, we had $10 trillion of influx of cash. It was an easy place for people to go. The second thing is companies have a hard time going to banks right now to raise capital. So they're going into the private or into the public sector to do that. So again, diversified. Make sure you're working with somebody that represents you, and you'll be all right. But pay attention. I think that I've said we've been in extra innings for a long time. I think this president's kept this thing in extra innings. I think there's going to be a rebalancing at some point. There's just going to have to be.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. For right now, enjoy the bank statements, folks. Thank you, John Thomas and Seth Densen and Doug Burns, our special guests.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Good to see you.